Hi, I'm Allison Carl, and I manage Gateway for SBOA. Welcome to Gateway, the AFR, Annual Financial Report. If you are a very new trustee, you may want to watch Gateway the First Steps video before watching this one. Today we will begin by talking through the Gateway AFR, and then we will walk through it with a live demo. The AFR is due March 1st for the previous calendar year. It's the SBOA's most comprehensive application, so this video is a bit longer. There are also videos available that provide step-by-step guidance on how to complete the 100R and the monthly and annual engagement upload filings. We hope you will check those out as well. I'm going to start with my best advice to trustees. I'm including this in each video so you will remember it when you have questions. When you need help with Gateway, first check the user guides. I have included a link here, but this link is also available on almost all Gateway screens. The user guides are a wealth of information and provide detailed instructions on each section of the applications. They also include frequently asked questions. The user guides are super easy to use. You can find a link to your section in the table of contents, or you can search by keyword. Your second source of help for all things Gateway is the Gateway Help Desk. You can email the help desk at gateway@sboa.in.gov with any questions. This is the fastest and best way to get help with any Gateway issues you may be having. To begin your AFR, first log into Gateway. Then, under the red SBOA bar, select Annual Financial Report, AFR. Select your unit and then select the year. Note that as a submitter, you can authorize edit or read-only access for others for your different applications. To see who has access, click on User Permissions next to the red arrow there. If you would like to grant or remove editor or read-only access, you can click on the link shown at the bottom by the second red arrow. Complete that form, then mail it to the help desk, gateway@sboa.in.gov. The first time you enter the AFR for the year, the unit question screen will pop up. Once you've completed the unit questions, you will be taken to the main menu shown here. After completing the unit questions initially for the year, the app will open automatically to this main menu screen. You can edit the questions from the main menu later if needed. We're going to go through each one of the items on the main menu. Here are the unit questions. Be sure to complete these carefully as some of them affect which schedules will appear on the main menu for you to complete. 2023 was the first year townships could departmentalize their disbursements. Most of you will not utilize this, but if you do departmentalize, you will choose your departments from this screen. Then you will enter your disbursements by department when completing the financial data by fund, either manually or with uploads. The information for the schedule of officials that was entered in the prior AFR will automatically be rolled over to the current year. It's important that you review it carefully and make any changes to officials or their addresses. You will need to check the Mark Complete box at the bottom and click Save for the schedule to be completed. This is the Financial Data by Fund entry screen. It is the source of the body of your financial statement. It's important that the information entered here agrees with your ledger and includes receipts and disbursements from all sources for your unit. This is where you will enter all fund activity manually. We'll discuss the upload option later. The fund names and beginning balances will roll forward from the previous year. You can modify the beginning balances if necessary by clicking on the amount and editing it. To enter receipts and disbursements, click the Add Edit button, and a screen with all the categories of receipts and disbursements will appear. I'll demonstrate this in the app later. The ending balances are calculated automatically based on beginning balance plus receipt less disbursement. If you are entering the financial data by fund manually and need to add a new fund, click on the link circled in red. It will then take you to this screen. Look for the standard fund for your new fund by searching the SBOA fund list and selecting the correct one. Then enter the name and fund number you use for this fund and check the fund type is correct. If there is not an appropriate standard fund, you can click Build a Custom Fund. Again, your local fund name and number and fund type will need to be entered. A custom fund number starting with 9 will be assigned to this fund in lieu of the standard fund. Once this is done, the fund will appear on the main menu and you can enter receipts and disbursements there. The fund type schedule will be populated by default for most standard funds. For custom funds and certain funds where more than one fund type might be possible, you will need to use the pull down to select the fund type the first year you use a certain fund. This is the screen to use if you plan to use upload files instead of entering the financial data by fund and disbursements by vendor schedules manually. In order to have this on the main menu, you need to answer Unit Question 8, asking if you will use uploads, yes. If your unit would prefer to do uploads, your software company should be able to assist you. These are text files and would be difficult to develop on your own unless your software company has an option for you to download them. I've included links regarding the upload process and the file layouts here in case you want to investigate the upload option. You must use all of these files if you choose to upload. The uploads will overwrite all the data previously on the financial data by fund and the disbursements by vendor schedules. Capital assets. All fields on the capital asset schedule must be completed. Enter 0 if appropriate. All units must now complete the capital asset schedule each year, even if they enter no to the capital assets on the unit questions. The grant schedule will only be available for you to complete if you answered the unit question on grants, yes. This schedule is used to create the CFA. Information from the previous year will be rolled over for your convenience, but must be updated with current information and amounts. All required fields must have data entered, so be sure to use the scroll bar at the bottom to access the fields to the right. You can add grants by clicking the Add Row box at the top and delete them by clicking the red X to the left. Make sure to save all work once data is entered. New entries that are incomplete will not be saved. If you'd prefer to use an upload to enter your grants, information is available at the user guide at the link shown on the screen. And it's also available on the SBO website under your unit type. The grant upload is a CSV that can easily be typed in Excel and saved from year to year for edits. It's much simpler to use than the financial data by fund uploads, and you may use it or not, regardless of whether you entered the financial data by fund manually or with uploads. This is the accounts payable, accounts receivable schedule. You will simply need to enter the amount of your accounts payable and accounts receivable at year end. If you don't have any, then you will need to enter a 0. The transfer schedule is based on answering yes to the unit question on transfers. If you answered that question yes, you will need to complete this section. Note that you should do this after you complete the financial data by fund, as the funds in the pull-down menu come from there. If changes to fund names or numbers are made to the financial data by fund after completing your transfer schedule, it could change it. Each transfer made between funds should be entered on the transfer schedule, and this should correspond to the transfers entered in the financial data by fund section. If there are multiple transfers from one fund to another, then they should be combined into one entry. This schedule is based on answering yes to the unit question on interfund loans. Again, this should be completed subsequent to the financial data by fund, as the funds in the pull down come from there. If changes to fund names or numbers are made in the financial data by fund, it could affect your interfund loan schedule. For this schedule, you should enter the balance of interfund loans at the end of the year. This is the debt schedule. All units will need to complete the debt schedule regardless of their answers to the unit questions. However, if you did not enter debt in the prior year and you still don't have debt, you will not need to add any entries. The information from the prior year will roll forward, and beginning balances will show the ending balance from the prior year. All required fields must be completed. Again, you will need to scroll to the right to access the additional fields on each line. The lease schedule is now on the main menu for all units, even if you answered no on the unit question on leases. However, if you had no leases last year and you still have no leases, you won't need to do anything with the schedule. If you had leases last year, they will roll over and you'll need to address them either by completing the required fields or deleting them if they're no longer active at year end. If you have new leases, you'll need to click the Add Row button and complete all fields for that lease before saving. Only leases that are in effect at year end should be entered on the lease schedule. The financial assistance to non-governmental entity schedule will only appear if you answered the unit question affirmatively. Use this to report donations or assistance given to non-governmental entities such as the YMCA or a volunteer fire department. Again, be sure to scroll right to see all fields. Most of you will not complete this schedule since it only appears if you answered the unit question affirmatively. If your unit offers any benefits to prior employees, such as the ability to stay on health coverage at a favorable rate, etc., you should complete this section. All units will complete the pension schedule. If you have one of the plans under number 1, you can just click the box. If you have other plans that aren't listed in number 1, you will have to complete more details about them in number 2. Once all the entries are complete, check the box at the bottom to show that you're finished and click Save. You will not complete this schedule if you answered no on the unit question about tax abatements. Your county auditor should be able to provide you with information on any tax abatements that impact your unit. And if you have those, they can be entered on these schedules. The TA7 report is defined by Indiana code and is required specifically for townships. There will be a couple of minor changes this year to questions number 2 and 3. Disbursements by vendor schedule will be required for all townships. However, if you used the uploads to enter your financial data by fund, there is an upload for disbursements by vendor that was included as part of that, so you won't have to complete this schedule separately. However, for those of you that are preparing the financial data by fund manually, you will need to do this schedule. The funds will be displayed in column 1 as shown in the top picture. Once you click Enter Detail, you will see the bottom picture. You'll select the classification from the drop-down and enter the vendor name and amount. You can click Add Row for more entries. When the schedule is complete, the total amounts on the schedule at the top of the screen should tie to total disbursements for that fund on the financial data by fund. This should be true for all the funds. So all the disbursements on the financial data by fund need to be included here along with their vendors. Townships are required to enter and upload information for surety bonds on the trustee and assessor. If the position does not exist for your township or is not bonded as required, check the appropriate box and it will show that you've completed that position. If you do have bonds, then enter the details on those and upload the bond here. If you have other officials that are bonded in addition to those two, use the position drop-down box and select Other, and then you can enter the information and upload that bond as well. Once you've completed all the schedules on the AFR, the info entered on the various schedules can be previewed in the annual report outputs as shown on the screen here. You can view those in your browser, or you can export the reports in either PDF or Excel format for your use and your records. These reports can be very useful to help you find errors and verify that the information entered on the AFR agrees to your financial records. You will be provided a financial statement and CFA if you have grants to approve at the beginning of your audit. It's not necessary to run the financial statement and CFA from the main menu of your AFR. However, if you need to update the AFR for corrections as a result of your audit, running them may be helpful to determine if your changes achieve the desired results. Note that all submission errors must be cleared before you can submit your AFR. The submission warnings should be reviewed, but they will not prevent you from submitting. For 2023, beginning in 2023, we added a new optional feature, which is a second-party review. For example, if your board chairman or assistant have edit or read-only access to the AFR, they can go into this section of the main menu and click that they have reviewed the AFR once the AFR has been submitted. That will document that a second review has occurred, and it might be helpful to you to show the auditor as internal control documentation. Again, this is totally optional. When the AFR is complete and all errors have been cleared, the submitter will click Submit Annual Report. Then proceed to Submit Annual Report. To certify that the report is accurate and agrees to the financial records to the best of your knowledge, you will then click Submit this report. After it is submitted, you will see a confirmation on the screen. You will also receive an email documenting the date and time that you submitted your AFR, which you should keep for your records. If you need to make changes later, you can unsubmit, correct, and then resubmit your annual report. That concludes our talkthrough of the AFR. Now we are going to move to our walkthrough of this information with an online demo. Here we are on the Gateway login page. You can see that there's a link to the user guides here and on many of the menus. I did an example of those in the other videos, so I'm not going to do that here since this demo is going to be a bit longer. If you don't have your login credentials yet, you may want to watch the video Gateway, the First Steps, or email helpdesk, gateway@sboa.in.gov. I'm going to log in, look under the State Board of Accounts red bar to find the applications and click on Annual Financial Report. Then I'm going to click on the Township unit. Note that you'll only have one unit on this list to choose from. And we're going to take a look at the 2023 year. So here's the main menu. The first item shown is the unit questions. If I had just entered the AFR for the first time this year, the unit questions screen would have popped up automatically, but you can see that I've already been in here once and completed the unit questions for this sample unit. It's very important that you get the unit questions answered correctly, as the way you answer them determines whether or not some other schedules appear for you to complete on the main menu. So if you need to make edits, you can just click on them on the main menu again, like I just did, and make whatever changes you need. Click Proceed, and it takes a second because it's deciding which schedules to populate for you on the main menu based on your answers to the unit questions. The next schedule on the main menu is the schedule of officials. The information from the prior year will roll over automatically to the schedule of officials, but you need to go through and review it carefully. Make sure that the correct names, addresses, and phone numbers are listed. You at least need to enter contact information for the primary contact person, the trustee, and probably the chairman of the township board. Note if you scroll all the way to the bottom, if you have a unique entity ID, you'll enter that here. Again, that would roll over for you from the prior year, and the same with the federal ID number. The first time you go into the schedule, this box will not be checked. So before it can be completed and you can submit your AFR, you'll need to click this Mark Complete box, Save All Work, and then you can go back to the main menu. You'll see these two are now shown as complete. So the next section we want to go over is the financial data by fund. This is the financial data by fund. It's used as the basis for the financial statements that we get your approval for and then use for your audit. It's very important that all your receipts and disbursements during the year are entered into the financial data by fund. The beginning cash balances will be rolled over from your ending cash balance the prior year, but if there's an error for some reason, you can click on them and edit the amount. To enter your receipts and disbursements, you would simply click the Add Edit button. You can see some of the receipts and disbursements have already been entered for this unit. When you initially go in, these will all be at zeros. So again, this is the demo for those who are entering their financial data by fund manually. We'll talk about the uploads later. So if you're entering manually, click the Add Edit button, and it will bring up all the receipt categories for you to choose from. So you can enter them on the appropriate lines. And if you have categories that aren't listed specifically, you can enter those under Other and enter your own classification. It's charges for services, fines and fees, and various other receipt types. Once you've entered all your receipts, you can click Save All Work and go back to the financial data by fund. And the total of all the amounts you entered will show up here. Same way with your disbursements. Click Add Edit, and you can enter your disbursements on all the appropriate lines so they'll be categorized correctly on your financial statement. Then Save All Work and return to the financial data by fund. At this point, the ending cash balance for the fund should equal what's on your reconciliation. You need to do this for all funds. Note that if there's a fund you're not using anymore and it has zeros all the way across, you'll need to delete that row by clicking here. You can also add a new fund if you added a new fund during the year by clicking Add a Fund to this grid. So if you know the name of the fund, you definitely want to try to find the standard fund that best matches. You can click Show All Funds here. Say we want to add an ambulance fund. So we would enter our local name for the fund. We would enter the local fund number. We'd select the fund type. And then we'd click here to add the fund. Now, if there wasn't a standard fund that suited our needs, we could click here and build a custom fund. The custom funds would all start with the number 9. And they would not be on the standard fund list. The standard fund list should be your first go-to. So once we've entered all that, we can click here to add this fund and then go back to the financial data by fund, and we'll see our new fund is entered here, ready to enter receipts and disbursements. Once you've entered all the information in the financial data by fund, you can return to the main menu. I think this is a good time to show you the annual report outputs, which are at the bottom here under System Functions. So you can click here and see that there are reports for you to look at for almost all of the schedules that you're entering on the main menu of the AFR. So to check our financial data by fund and make sure we entered everything appropriately, we want to click on Cash and Investment Combined Statement. And it will bring up a PDF showing each one of our funds, the beginning balance, the total receipts, total disbursements, and ending balance. And then there's also the totals. You'll want to make sure this total agrees to your ending funds ledger balance at 12/31/23. Now let's go back to the main menu and take a look at the next section, the capital assets. The capital assets will have to have an entry in every field. At the beginning, you will see the additions and reductions columns both have just the blue word required in them. So you'll have to enter either an amount or zero in those columns before you can complete the AFR and submit it. Once you've made any entries required, you can click Save and Recalculate and then return to the main menu. Note the beginning balances will roll over for you like they did on the other schedules, and the ending balance will be calculated for you. Next on the main menu is the grant schedule. Note that you have to use your scroll bar and scroll all the way right because these are all required fields, and so they will say required in blue, and you will have to go in and enter an amount. Note that there is an upload available for the grants as well. You can use this upload whether or not you use uploads for the financial data by fund. They're totally separate. The grant uploads are pretty easy to put together yourself if you're familiar with Excel. And anytime you do use the upload, it will overwrite the information that was rolled forward from last year in these first several columns. And it will include only the information from the upload file you used. So I'm going to show you an example of how you can do the upload. Simply choose File, go to the correct location, click Open, and click Upload Data. And it warns you that it will delete all existing entries before you proceed. So click OK on that. Now you'll see that all the information from the upload file has been copied into the grant schedule. The grant schedule is important because it's used to prepare your CFA if you require federal audit. I'm going to go through some of these schedules a little more quickly. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Just enter the amount of the accounts payable and accounts receivable you have at the end of the year. The transfer schedule is used to record transfers from one fund to another. These are permanent transfers. It will populate the drop-downs based on the funds in your financial data by fund. So if you want transferred money from the township fund to the rainy day fund during the year, you would enter that amount here. If you made several transfers, you would combine those into one amount. You can't enter several transfers from one fund to the same fund. You can add as many as you need. Once you've recorded all your transfers, click Save All Work and then return to the main menu. The next schedule is the interfund loan schedule, and it functions much the same. However, it's used to record loans that are due from one fund to another as of the end of the year. So again, you'll use your drop down to choose the fund that owes the other fund, and you'll click the amount here and click Save All Work. So these are the outstanding interfund loan balances as of 12/31/23. Then click Save All Work and return to the main menu. The next section is the debt schedule. All units are required to complete the debt schedule. However, if you had no debt last year and you still have none, you won't need to add any entries. But your debt from last year will roll over and you'll need to complete any additions, reductions, and the principal due in the following year for each loan that rolled over. Also, if you have new loans you need to enter, you can click Add a Row and enter the information required. So you probably have maybe notes, and you can enter a description of the note, and then the balance at the beginning of the year would be 0. You can enter the amount you borrowed, if you've paid any off, and how much is going to be due at the end of the year. Don't forget to scroll all the way to the right. So how much is going to be due within the next year. Save All Work and return to the main menu. You can also enter short-term debt here. It's the same way with leases. If you had a lease last year, it will roll over and you'll have to complete the information on it. If you need to delete it, you can if it's no longer outstanding at the end of the year. We want leases to be entered on here that are outstanding at 12/31/24. You can add new leases by clicking here. You can delete leases by clicking the red X. Once it's complete, click Save All Work and return to the main menu. Financial assistance to non-governmental entities is assistance that you provided to, say, the YMCA or the Volunteer Fire Department and that type, senior citizen centers and so forth. If you provided any of that assistance, you can enter the information about those units here along with the amount. Once it's complete, click Save All Work and return to the main menu. The next section is on pensions. When you first go in, you'll need to check the ones that apply to you. If you don't have any plans other than the ones listed in number 1, it's very simple. You just click the ones that you have and click No to number 2. Click This form is complete and click Save. If you have other types of plans that aren't listed in number 1, then you'll have to click Yes here, add the plans, and answer several questions about your plans. And go back to the main menu. The tax abatement schedule is here. If you have tax abatements, your county auditor would be able to tell you how you were affected by the tax abatements and the amount of tax revenues that were reduced that would have gone to your unit as a result of the tax abatements. Once you've got them entered correctly, click Save All Work and return to the main menu. Again, you can add or delete them. The TA7 is specific to townships and it's quite lengthy. It's in the same format every year. This year there will be some minor changes to questions 2 and 3 based on changes to the Indiana Code. So you simply type in those amounts, click Save All Work, and return to the main menu. Disbursements by vendor is also specific to townships. All disbursements that were entered on the financial data by fund need to be entered here as well, showing who the vendor was that was paid. So if you're doing the uploads, there's also an upload for disbursements by vendors, so you won't need to complete this schedule. But if you've entered the financial data by fund manually, you'll need to click here, enter the detail, and add a row, click the correct category, who the vendor was, and the amount. I'm going to go ahead and delete that for now, so everything will hopefully kind of tie out for something I'm going to show you later. When you're finished with the disbursements by vendor schedule, the total disbursements shown on that schedule should match the total disbursements that you entered in the financial data by fund. If that's not true, when you review your financial statements, you'll see that you get a warning for the disbursement total does not match disbursement by vendor records. So if you get any of these errors, will have to be corrected before you can submit your AFR. So we need to go in and figure out why our disbursement total from the financial data by fund doesn't match the disbursement by vendor that we entered. So in order to show you that, you would go to the annual report outputs and you would click on detailed disbursements for all funds and then disbursements by vendor. So I've already opened up both of those schedules so we can compare. So we want to see what the difference is. We see the total here on the financial data by fund is more than what we've entered on the disbursements by vendor. The Township Fund 21,841.84 is the same. The Township Assistance Fund 4,708 cents is the same. The total services and charges is the same. But you'll see on the disbursements by vendor schedule, there's no disbursement entered for the total payroll deduction. So we need to go in and add that. So we're going to go back to the main menu, into the disbursements by vendor. We're going to scroll down till we see the payroll deduction fund, and we can see that there have been no disbursements entered yet for that fund. So we're going to click here, enter detail, add a row, choose through category, and the vendor name is, and the amount of the disbursement that was paid to them. There could be several. Save work. Click to select another fund. Now we can see the correct total amount is listed there. Next, we're going to look at the upload public official surety bond section. Townships are required to have surety bonds for the trustee and assessor. And in this one, we've already uploaded our bond for the trustee for the year. So now we have to use the drop down to choose assessor. If for some reason we don't have an assessor, we would check here. If we have an assessor but we don't have the required bond, we would check here and choose complete. If we do have the right bond, we would enter what type of bond it was. We would enter the name, the amount of the bond, the start date, and the end date. Then we'll go in and choose a file to upload. Now you can view either of those files by clicking here. If you have other officers that are bonded in addition to the trustee and assessor, you can go ahead and add those. If not, you can check here that you've completed and are ready to submit the form. There's no save button here. It automatically saves it so we can return to the main menu. Now, to make sure everything is entered correctly, we can go through and view all of these report printouts to make sure everything agrees with our ledger and our records. Now let's go back to the main menu. It looks like we're about ready to submit, but before we do, I'd like to go back and show you what the upload option looks like. So if you prefer to upload your financial data by fund and disbursements by vendor instead of entering those manually, here's how that would go. You click on Unit Questions and change your answer on number 8. Do you have data files from your accounting system to upload? Click Yes on that, and then click Proceed. And it will bring up the upload files for you to do right away. If you don't want to, you can go back to the main menu and access the upload files at any time by clicking here. Just a reminder that you definitely want to do your financial data by fund before doing the transfer schedule and the interfund loan schedule, as it uses the fund names and numbers from those schedules for the drop downs. So let's click Upload Files. And if you've got these files printed out and ready to go from your software vendor based on the specs of the links we showed you earlier in the slideshow, we can just click on them here. So select Contact Information, Browse, choose the contact text file, Open, Upload. It shows uploaded, so we're going to go to the next one, the beginning balance file. These all have to be named appropriately, or it won't allow them to upload. Choose the receipts file. So if your software company has these available, actually uploading them is very simple. Note that when we do these uploads, it will replace everything that was entered in the financial data by fund and everything that was entered in the disbursements by vendor section. So we have them all uploaded. Now we're going to click on the next step, and it's going to test them to make sure they're acceptable. So it's telling us it's ready to go. So it's giving us the last warning that this is going to overwrite the data that was previously entered in the financial data by fund and the disbursements by vendor section. So we're going to go ahead and post those files. It's telling us, yes, those have been posted, but you still need to go in and submit your AFR and complete anything else on there. So we're going to go back to the main menu to do that. So we reviewed the annual report outputs to make sure everything looks okay. Now we need to prepare to submit the AFR. So we can either click Review Submission or Submit Annual Report to see if there are any errors that need to be cleared. And we still have one. The fund type is not completed. We also have a couple of submission warnings, so we want to look at those and see if there's something we should be concerned about. Leases out of typical range, and beginning balance does not match the previous year's ending cash balance. So let's take a look at the leases. And the dates we've entered here are 10/31/22, and we only want to include leases that are still outstanding at 12/31/23. So we should delete this lease from our list. Click Save All Work. Return to the main menu and let's take a look at the fund type schedule. We had one error that shows this one fund type was not selected. Fund types normally are selected by default when you enter a fund and are rolled forward year to year. However, there are a few funds that don't have a default fund type. So some standard funds that can have more than one fund type, or if you entered a custom fund, the first year you have that fund, you'll need to go into the fund type schedule and choose the correct fund type for that fund. So we're going to scroll down and we see it's the payroll deduction fund. So I believe that would be an other. It's like a payroll clearing account. So we're going to click that and save all work. Then return to the main menu. Now we can go back to the submit annual report. The errors are all taken care of, so we're able to submit. We have one warning left, but we know that we did intentionally change the beginning cash balance on one of those funds because there was a problem in the prior year. So that's good to go. So we can click Proceed to Submit Annual Report. And then by clicking here, we're certifying that the report is accurate and agrees with the financial records. So submit. And we get a notice here, the report has been submitted. We go back to the main menu. It will show that it was submitted. And we can also check our email because we'll get an email from Gateway that says the AFR was submitted, and it will say the date and time stamp that it was submitted. So you should save that email for your records as proof of timely submission of your AFR. And that concludes our demo. That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching. We hope you found it helpful. Be sure to check out the videos for Gateway, the first steps, Gateway, the 100R, and Gateway, the monthly and annual engagement uploads. Have a great day.